Approximately 40% of COVID-related deaths in South Korea are a result of the vaccine. That's all coming up right now. What's up, guys? Fooch from Fooch TV here. Now, I have not been following this story closely myself. However, somebody that I speak to quite regularly, let's codename him HM, has been following the deaths related to the vaccine very closely and has provided an update to me. He sent me a news article from Yonhap News. For those of you who don't know, Yonhap is actually mainstream media here in Korea, so this is not a very small right-fringed website. This is mainstream media reporting this. They say as of right now, there are 1,008 deaths as a result of the vaccine. That's actually not at the time of the recording. I'm recording this on Friday, October 8th at about 8 p.m. in Korean time. However, this article came out on the 2nd of October, so almost a week ago, so we can expect this number to be a little bit higher than it currently is. It says that there are currently 1,008 deaths related to the vaccine. The breakdown of that is 534 deaths are as a result of the Pfizer vaccine, 433 deaths are a result of AstraZeneca, 28 deaths as a result of Moderna, and 13 deaths as the result of Johnson & Johnson. Now, the breakdown of that, just for those people not in Korea, to give you some additional information, a majority of the vaccines available to the public, or at least for the public, the ages of 18 to 40, people in their 40s and 50s, were Pfizer. Pretty much how the rollout happened was around springtime. The US military gave Johnson & Johnson vaccines to people currently in the Korean reserve. So people who have completed their military service here in Korea, they are still in the military reserves for about 10 years. About, I don't want to say, I don't know how many, oh boy. I forgot the exact number of vaccines that were given. It may have been 100,000, it may have been a million, no more than a million vaccines, anywhere between 10,000 and 1 million vaccines. I know that's not very helpful information. However, a certain amount, a not very large amount of Johnson & Johnson vaccines were given for people currently in the Korean reserves to receive those vaccines. Not many compared to the overall population, which is why that number is so low. At first, Korea imported a lot of AstraZeneca vaccines, and they started the rollout with people in their 70s, then kind of going down. And then once they started getting Pfizer vaccines, people stopped wanting the AstraZeneca and people started favoring the Pfizer. So even though there's not a complete shortage, however, you can't get it. You can't just walk into any clinic whenever you want to get the vaccine. You do have to make an appointment, or you do have to look for people who had skipped their appointment. A lot of Pfizers are now available, and there are a lot of leftover AstraZeneca, so nobody really wants that vaccine anymore. Moderna just started coming out recently after they've already assigned a lot of appointments to people at Pfizer. So who, as a matter of fact, have received my second shot Tuesday of this week. So I'm 3 days into the final vaccination period. Even though I received my first shot was Pfizer, so I had to get the second shot being Pfizer. When I was looking throughout the different clinics offering the leftover vaccines, there were so many Moderna available, and I think that's because the government had already assigned a lot of Pfizers out, so that's why there were so many Moderna left over. So that's kind of why we see this number like this, Pfizer being the most. Not to say that Pfizer is the most dangerous among all the vaccines, it's just that Pfizer is the most widespread here in Korea. Now, 40% of the deaths are related to the vaccine. Why is that? Because the current deaths related to the coronavirus, the last time I checked, was 2,544. I'll check that right now, real time right now. Korea COVID deaths, I think that's going to be about the same, unless somebody died today, which they may have. Yeah, 2,554. So that's 10 additional deaths. I think the last time I checked was yesterday, which is approximately 40%, is 39 and change, whatever. So 2,554 people have died as a result of contracting the COVID virus, and 1,008 people have died from getting the vaccine. So that is a large amount of people, especially compared to other countries. Now, why might that be? A lot of the COVID-related deaths, for example, in the US, a lot of people getting COVID and dying already had some pre-existing conditions and were morbidly obese, or they didn't have access to proper healthcare. Now, in Korea, people are, a lot of people who died are probably old or have pre-existing conditions. However, a lot more people are able to get healthcare because there is universal healthcare in Korea. So a lot of the people that, in the US, they may have had pre-existing conditions. Those conditions may have not been treated properly because of a lack of healthcare. Korea has a lot of healthcare available universally, so a lot of people are receiving coverage, so they may have been in a better position. But also people who contracted COVID were taken care of by the government for free. And that's very important because in the US, I've heard many people who caught COVID and went to the hospital, they ended up with bills amounting to around $250,000, which is absolutely insane, and which may prevent people from wanting to actually go to the hospital because they can't afford that or they don't want to be bankrupt. So people in Korea, because the treatment is fully covered by the government, maybe more people were willing to go to get that treatment, which means their lives were saved. And 3, there's just not that many fat people in Korea. Nowadays people are gaining more weight. However, there's still not a lot of, it's very hard to see a morbidly obese person walking down the street. So what does this mean? These numbers are quite scary. Now, I'm just reporting the facts here, and I guess, it would be interesting if we can have, 2 case studies where we see the entire Korean population getting COVID and seeing who could recover, or seeing how the hospitals would handle that, and then seeing the death rate related to the virus running rampant in the entire country and seeing what happens then compared to the entire country getting the vaccine and seeing how many people actually die from the vaccine. Since currently more people are getting the vaccine in Korea than are actually getting COVID, that could explain why the death rate is higher, which is why it would be interesting to see those 2 cases side by side. And I'd be willing to bet that, I'm maybe not willing to bet, but I can see a possibility where the vaccine number of deaths is actually overall lower compared to the COVID-related deaths, with under the assumption that the entire population either gets the vaccine or gets the virus. I know I switched those hands around, but yeah, one of those 2. So I'm not saying that. But the interesting thing here is essentially the government is choosing who gets to live and who gets to die. Obviously, they don't have a list and they're not pointing people out, but people who were, healthy before getting the vaccine, at least they didn't have any clear issues. They were healthy getting the vaccine and actually may have survived if they had caught the virus, are now dead because they got the vaccine. I know a friend of mine, she's in, I don't know her exact age. I think she's in her late 30s. My apologies to her if she's actually younger than that. But a friend of mine who's in her late 30s and got the first shot of Pfizer, which you're apparently not supposed to get that sick if you get, she got extremely ill after getting that first shot. And now she is hesitant getting the second shot. And she has sadly told me that one of her friends, who is of the same age or of a similar age, passed away after receiving the first shot, and she received a call from her friend's father saying that his daughter had passed away from getting the shot. And had she continued living her life without getting the vaccine, there's a chance that she may have never gotten COVID and still would be alive today, or there's also a chance that she would have gotten COVID and fully recovered and still been alive today. So the fact that she had to get she had to get the vaccine means that, the government essentially, chose her to die. The reason why passport came out right there is because I was thinking about vaccine passports. I guess technically the government has not fully chosen yet, as it is not currently required to get the vaccine to go places. There are currently benefits available for people who have received the vaccine, such as meeting more than 2 people after 6 p.m. Those who are vaccinated, I think they can meet up to 6 or 8 people, granted that 4 or 6 of those people are vaccinated. So 2 people can be unvaccinated, and the remaining 4 or 6, depending on what that total number is, have to be vaccinated 2 weeks after their second shot. And there's also the benefit of the 2-week mandatory quarantine coming into Korea lifted if you currently got your vaccinations in Korea. However, they are currently working to lift that quarantine period for people who've been vaccinated with 8 WHO approved vaccines outside of the country. And I think they either just lifted that, or they are working to find a way how to verify those vaccines to lift it immediately. So there are currently social benefits available for those people who have gotten vaccinated. Most of the success that Korea has had with dealing with the virus and with the number of people getting vaccinated is related to social pressure. The reason why so many people last year were wearing masks and were not going out, staying at home, was not because the government commanded them to. Partially that, however, it was mostly because the Korean people felt like this was their duty, and if somebody was not following that, then they would be ostracized from their social groups and from society as a whole. Now we kind of see that people are sick and tired of staying home, which is why more and more people are going out, which is why the average number of cases per day has skyrocketed from 50 a day to 500 a day to currently now 2,000 a day. But there are currently no mandates yet, although the government is in talks of introducing mandates requiring a negative PCR test if you were to enter a restaurant or any other indoor establishment. They're still trying to work that out, whether that's going to be a 24-hour, 48-hour, or 72-hour test, and whether that test is going to be paid for. So I am not inputting my personal judgment here. I am just giving you the facts and just an analysis on what some of these facts mean. I want to know what you guys have to think. Do you think 40% of the related deaths being to the vaccine, you think that's quite high? Do you think the number is also quite high in Western states? We just don't have the actual statistic due to complications of whatever the reporting or governments trying to hide this figure. What do you think about mandates? I want to know exactly what you think. Leave me a comment down below. As always, if you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you hated this video, think I'm an anti-vaxxer, think that I am disgusting, this video should be banned off YouTube, my channel should be banned, go ahead, report the video, leave a negative comment, dislike, unsubscribe, do whatever you have to do. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.